name is Steve Sanson. I'm president of Veterans in Politics International. And I want to talk to you about corruption in the Clark County family court system. There's a lot of it, folks. And just let me give a disclaimer and say that I am not a litigant in Clark County Family Court. I have no case in Clark County Family Court. But I have to bring attention to the injustice that's going on in Clark County Family Court. Now, my organization, Veterans in Politics, we have three compartments that we do. We legislate for veterans' rights. We expose public corruption. And we also elect and support and endorse candidates for elected seats. Now, a lot of the judges on the family court bench in Clark County, which there are 20 of them, we help support one way or another. But we cannot continue to support these judges if they violate state laws, if they violate federal laws, if they violate their own code of ethics. You have family court judges that take that bench and believe that they're God. In my upbringing, in my religion, there's only one God. You put on the robe, you're a human being, elected to do the job of the will of the people, and that is to uphold the law, to bring fairness to the bench, to bring knowledge and experience, and to have respect and decency to the litigants that are before you. You bring no personal bias, no religious bias, no gender bias, no ethnicity bias, no bias at all, no friendship bias. What I've noticed in court observing these judges for the past few years now, that they are going beyond the scope of their elected office. Most of them are not humble anymore. Originally, when they took that seat, they were humble. A lot of them were. They came there to do the right thing. And after a while, they believe that they're superior to everybody else, which is disgusting, disgraceful. In 1993, the family court bench was introduced to Clark County. And the motto was, for the best interest of the children. And somewhere along those lines, that motto has dissolved drastically. You have attorneys that are appearing before these judges, that are friends with these judges, that are getting their way with these judges, that are disrespectful to the courts. You have judges that are treating pro se litigants like crap just because they don't understand the law and they cannot afford to pay for an attorney. You got attorneys that are ripping off litigants, having them appeal and doing motions and sending them in the wrong direction just to rape them financially. This is wrong, folks. It's all wrong. I am tired of people coming to me and saying, we cannot do anything about it. That's just the way it is. No, it's not. We elect legislators to go to Carson City to make law, to adopt law. We elect the governor to sign laws, sign bill in the laws. Why do we do all this if we have judges that sit on the family court bench that uses this word, their discretion? Their discretion. What does that mean? Their discretion. Does that mean they could introduce their own personal bias at their discretion? Does that mean they are above the law at their discretion? What does their discretion means? They can do whatever they want. If they don't like the way you look, like the way you sound, don't like your attitude, they could just use their discretion. And then you have these judges that forget that these courtrooms are public access, that judges are a public servant to taxpayers who elect them to sit on that seat to judge us, we the people. That's what they are. They are public servants. If they don't like that title, they shouldn't be political office, because that's politics. These judges make anywhere between $140,000 to $240,000 a year of taxpayers' money. The courthouse, taxpayers' money. The utilities, taxpayers' money. The janitor, the JEA, the court clerk, the security, the marshals, taxpayers' money. We are all taxpayers, every single one of us. Those courtrooms belong to us. A judge can't arbitrarily close the courtroom because they don't want people to come and watch them. That is ridiculous. They are public servants. The courtroom is supposed to be open to the public. But yet these judges think that they could arbitrarily lock the doors and put a hanger on it and say, close hearing, and you're supposed to abide by it. And then they must have put this BS into their marshals' heads, because these marshals think that that's their courtroom too, and they could close the doors anytime they want. That's all BS, folks. There are laws around that. There are legislations around that. And these courtrooms cannot be locked by a judge that don't want the public to come in there and scrutinize them quietly. It's not like we're in there taking videos, although we could get videos of every single case unless the case is sealed. And then the parties involved could get the videos of their own sealed case. Speaking of sealing cases, you have attorneys that are going around sealing cases. Why? To protect their bad behavior. Just in case they do something wrong or immoral or unethical or illegal, they don't want the public to know about it. They don't want you, me, to put them on blast and to expose them. One day they might be considered to run for political office, and they don't want it used against them. The sealing of cases is not supposed to be arbitrarily done. It's supposed to be done to protect the interest of a child. And even when that's done, you cannot seal the entire case. There are laws against that. But these judges and these attorneys are doing it left and right. And it's so normalized that we let it go. We let it happen because we do not stand up and do something about it. I understand that these judges hold your children as hostage, therefore handcuffing you and silencing you for standing up. But it's time, folks. It's time that we stand up and take back our courtrooms. It's time that we complain in writing about judges that are breaking the law to the Nevada Judicial Disciplinary Commission. It's time that we complain about attorneys that are overbilling, that are perjuring themselves to the Nevada State Bar. It is time we stand up. It is time we contact our legislators and tell them, hey, we need judicial reform and family court. We really do. It's time, because we cannot sit back another day and let these judges do what they want to you. We have rights. Back to the civil right movement, back to the women's movement. We have rights, folks. We're all up in arms as Americans, complaining about how illegal immigrants are being separated from their children at the border. But what about the millions of children being separated from their parents in family court? Where is the outrage for that? Where is the outrage? You know, they complain about how dads run away from their children, don't want nothing to do with them. But then you have dads that are fighting for their kids and just getting railroaded left and right. You got loving mothers out there that are fighting to keep their children from an abusive dad, but they're the ones that get the kid. You know, it's said, if you watch this movie called Divorce Corpse on Amazon, it talks about how judges take children from the protective parent and give the child to the abusive parent. Why? Because the protective parent is going to fight for their children and is going to keep it in the system, and therefore these attorneys will make more money, and these third-party entities like Guardian ad litem and psychiatrists and psychologists and mediators, and they all could get paid, and maybe the caseload will be so much they have to ask the legislature to adopt another seat in family court to hire more judges and hire more marshals and hire more JEAs and hire more law clerks, and the list goes on and on and on. This, my friends, is a $50 billion a year industry worldwide. And if you don't believe it's about money and power, you've been on the sidelines for a very, very, very long time. These judges, these corrupt judges, are a disgrace to our system. You know, we fought in the military for our freedoms, for a way of life. But right here in the United States, it seems like that freedom is slipping away from us. We need to get it back. We really do. We need to take back our courtrooms. And, you know, I'm the type of person that names. I don't cower down. Never have, never will. And I've had so much thrown at me because I've taken a stand against these corrupt family court judges. Now, excuse me, may I say that there's some very good family court judges. And may I say there were some very good family court judges. And then after a while, I guess you sit in that seat too long and you become really comfortable and you know all the players and you know where to get your money and you feel like your shit don't stink, and all of a sudden you turn corrupt. And that's disgusting. You got 20 family court judges in Clark County. And I'm going to go through some of these family court judges for you so you could understand. We have done firsthand. We have court observed, we have read briefings, we have pulled videos, and we have seen these judges in hand for ourselves. You got Linda Marquis. I remember when Linda Marquis was running for judge, she told a group of folks she's going to win because she has the money to do it. Now, that sounds sad all by itself. Linda Marquis was never a litigant, or sorry, was never an attorney in the family court bench. But somehow she found her way in the running for family court judge. And while she's there, this is what she has done. She has denied Dad his right, denied the father a right, eliminated the father's right to his children. The father can't even contact his child. Oh, that is the best interest for those children, by totally removing the father from his kids. That's a civil death. Divorce is a civil death. But you take away kids from a parent, and this father has never abused the children, never neglected the children, but yet he has a no contact over these children. No contact, folks. Do you know what that means? Do you know what type of isolation that is for a parent to not being able to even call their children? What type of person would stand between a parent who's loving and their child? This is going on for almost 2 years now. This father has been arrested because he called his children, and he got arrested for 6 months. He got incarcerated for 6 months for telephoning his child. This is disgusting. And now they're looking to chump up more charges on him. I mean, you back a line up against the wall, what do you think is going to happen? This is disgusting. And then not only she does this to one father we know of, she does it to another father by allowing mom to relocate hundreds of miles across the continental United States to Nebraska from Nevada, taking away the son from his father. Taking away the son from his father. Now again, this father has never abused, never neglected his child at all, but relocated him, the son, to another state. And a lot of these judges do not follow the relocation laws or the rules for relocation. It has to be completely the best interest of the child. It has to be, there is a lot of financial gain by one of the parties that's moving to get a better job. It has to be some type of medical or psychological treatment that this child could not get in the state of Nevada but could get somewhere else. It has to be some type of educational that's going to best suit that child that is not here in Clark County. It has to be something like that. But these judges do not follow their own relocation laws, which is also sad, and it's also disgusting. Then you got, you have Rebecca Burton, kicked out court observers out of a public courtroom, abused the rules of closed hearings. I mean, how could judges arbitrarily kick people out of the courtroom That's a public courtroom. And there wasn't anything sensitive happen. It wasn't a juvie case. And you know, a lot of these judges in family court says, you know what? Court cases in family court are very sensitive. So the public can't sit there and listen to them. But hey, I've been to criminal court. That's open to the public. They don't have closed hearings. They don't have sealed cases. But I've listened to a lot of rape and molestation. And you can't get any more sensitive than that. You have Charles Hoskins, who was the presiding judge of family court, may I add. Now, Judge Hoskins was removed from the guardianship position because of mishandling cases. And one thing about Judge Hoskins, he's very good with nepotism. He loves to bring in his former law partners to make them judges or hearing masters, and he loves to have them all in there. I guess he wants to keep all his friends close to him. He makes them all, he gets to appoint them to be all hearing masters, and he gets to try to overthrow a judge that he doesn't like, to replace that judge with one of his friends. I mean, this is a constant trend with Judge Hoskins. This guy loves power. Unbelievable. You would not believe. And then you have Denise Gentile. Although Denise Gentile, we personally helped put her in that seat to overthrow Judge William Gonzalez, who Judge Gonzalez at least a dozen times violated the Service Members Civil Relief Act. And that act prohibits anyone from taking any action against a military member that's on orders in another jurisdiction. But Judge Gonzalez felt that he could do it, and we helped to overthrow him and replaced him with Judge Denise Gentile. Now, Judge Denise Gentile, instead of recusing herself after she admitted being roommates to one of the attorneys, she moved forward with the case. To me, that's a conflict of interest big time, because you develop a personal relationship with that person. I mean, roommates with that person, or renting a room, or renting part of it, or doing anything with that person is a conflict of interest. I mean, speaking of that, you know, you have these attorneys and these law firms that are giving thousands and thousands of dollars to these judges. In California, excuse me, in California, if a law firm or an attorney gives $1,500 or more, the judge has to put that on record to let everybody know, so that litigants could have an opportunity to recuse that judge. They don't do that here in Clark County, Nevada. I mean, you have these attorneys buying these judges by donating heavily to their campaign, from one pack to the other, giving $5,000 here, $5,000 there. Give that to your mother, give that to the judge, $5,000 there. Because you could only give $10,000, $5,000 in primary and $5,000 in general. But when you have these different packs, you get $5,000 every day, as long as you have a different pack. $5,000 from that pack, $10,000 from that pack. And these attorneys buy these judges every single day. These attorneys in family court, the corrupt ones and the corrupt judges, they're all part of the state bar, which they all pay dues to the state bar. They all watch each other's back. There has to be some type of inspector general that is not biased, that will enforce the law. Until that happens, folks, these things are still going to go on. And they're going to go on until we, the people, do something about it. Then you have William Potter. Now, William Potter, Judge Potter, who's located at the Regional Justice Center for Family Court, just recently took over the guardianship But before that, he ordered his marshal to handcuff an attorney that was representing her client before him. So she was representing her client while in handcuffs. How humiliating. How humiliating is that? He was sanctioned by the Nevada Judicial Commission. He was suspended from the bench without pay for 2 months. He was ordered to pay some other fine. He was ordered to give a public apology. And he was also ordered to pay for a psychiatric evaluation for his anger. Wow, Clark County, we could pick him. And that's what happened with Judge William Potter. Judge Cheryl Moss. I mean, we supported her time and time again to that bench. I mean, she was the star of the Asian community. I believe she was the first Asian judge. Not positive, but I'm sure she was. And man, I really like Judge Moss. But what she did in a particular case is just disgusting. It really is. Apparently, Dad was a convicted batterer. Convicted. Not hearsay. Convicted. Not arrested, but convicted. Apparently, Dad had a terrible anger problem. Driving his car drunk. Paper trail a mile long about this guy. The kids were terrified of Dad. Mom didn't know what to do. Mom was scared of Dad too. The kids didn't want to go to Dad. 2 kids. Mom was like protecting her kids. I can't blame her. Really can't. What did Judge Moss do? Locked up Mom and the 2 kids. My God. Locked up Mom and the 2 kids. Now, Judge Moss don't have any kids of her own, so maybe she didn't develop that emotional, just empathy. No empathy. How could you lock up Mom and the 2 kids? The 2 kids, send them to Child Haven. When I heard that, I was beside myself. How could this happen? What judge would do something like that? Especially a family court judge. Lock up 2 minor kids because they didn't want to go to the abusive parent that is documented and convicted of being an abusive parent. Then you have Rena Hughes. Now, I could talk all day long about Rena Hughes, how she used Judge Pollack's disability to help win her seat. Rena Hughes have issues from the word go. I mean, I've had pictures of Rena Hughes at different parties that I haven't even published because I was like, oh my God, what would that make me look like if I published it? I mean, Rena Hughes knows how to party, I could tell you that. But this particular judge should not be on the bench at all. At all. She was sanctioned by the Nevada Judicial Commission, was deemed not to know the law. Nevada Judicial Commission says Judge Hughes don't know law, don't know certain law in family court. And they also said that Judge Hughes is unable to tell the truth. I'm using more layman terms than legalese or whatever, different legal terminology, so we're just obliviated by it. So I figured I'll just say what it is. The Nevada Judicial Commission says that Judge Hughes does not know the law, and she's a liar! A liar! Anyways, after all that, they gave her what I thought was a slap on the wrist because they said that she violated the mother's constitutional rights. This is what she did. She had mom bring the child to her courtroom, aiming that mom was alienating the child from dad. She kicked mom out of the courthouse. Not her courtroom, but the courthouse. Like, put mom in the parking lot. Left dad and his attorney. And his attorney is Elizabeth Tone, who's an assemblywoman. Of all things, a lawmaker. Well, left dad and his attorney, Elizabeth Cohn, the assemblywoman, in the courtroom while she chastised the child. Chastised this little 12-year-old, saying she's going to lock her up. She didn't go with dad. Blackmailing her, I thought. Extorting her. Go to dad or you're going to get locked up. I mean, the child didn't have an advocate. The child didn't have an attorney. The child was just sitting there all by herself, 12 years old, crying, saying, Judge, you don't know what I want. And the judge, with her egoistic ways, saying, well, I do because I'm the adult. But this adult never had her own kids. This adult judge is going through a divorce while sitting on the bench. She can't even get her own life in order. How the heck she's going to try to get yours? I mean, this kind of stuff, I cannot make this up. Mom was a pro se litigant. Mom was representing herself. Herself. She was her own attorney. So the judge kicked mom out of the courthouse, left dad and his attorney, who's a lawmaker, in the courtroom, having ex parte communication with them because mom wasn't in there. Who's representing herself? And talking about adult stuff, custody and child support right in front of the child. But yet she's an adult. This adult doesn't have her own children. This adult doesn't have any empathy. And this adult also kicked out court observers out of the courtroom, saying it's a closed hearing. But here's the kicker. She did it without any of the attorneys objecting to court observers being in the courtroom. She did it arbitrarily. This judge should never see the bench, ever. She should be immediately removed from the bench. She appealed the Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission's sanctions, and they only sanctioned her by telling her that she needs to go back to school and learn the law and how to be a judge. By the way, you need to pay for it too because it ain't coming out of taxpayers' dollars. That was a slap on the wrist for what she's done to this little girl. But her ego got in the way, and guess what she did? She appealed it to the Nevada Supreme Court, who could make her discipline a lot worse than what it is right now. This is what we got to deal with, folks. And then we have Cynthia Giuliani, who's in charge of juveniles. You know, I like Judge Giuliani, but then, you know, she denied the public access to her courtroom too, and I could understand, you know, dealing with some juvenile cases, sensitive, yada yada. I get that. But what I don't get, folks, is that she failed to disclose $2.5 million in loans on her 2008 campaign forms. Failed to disclose it. Is it perjury? Did she knowingly do it? But who forgets? Who forgets that they have $2.5 million in loans? Who forgets that they were going through a bankruptcy? Who forgets that? You know, I tell you, if you show up in front of a judge and you did some forgetting, I bet you'll get hammered. What makes this judge any different than you and me? Do we live in a hypocritical society? Is certain judges above the law and certain judges are not? And then we have one of my all-time favorites, Judge Matthew Harder. Judge Matthew Harder. Well, let me tell you about Judge Harder. First of all, Judge Harder lives in Logandale, which is about an hour away from Clark County. So I guess he doesn't want to use up his gas nor his time to keep coming to work every single day. So what he does, he comes to work 2 days a week. He's on the bench 2 days a week. And then when he's on the bench, he has a half day on the bench. He might have a morning calendar or he might have an afternoon calendar. This guy is a joke. He doesn't work, hardly works, but yet he put in to become a Supreme Court justice. He put his candidacy to run against Lydia Stiglitz for Supreme Court justice. The only thing I could think of what's going on with him is his ego took over him, or he just trying to get some name recognition because he knows that he's tarnished in the next election in 2020. Now, this guy makes about $160,000 a year of taxpayers' dollars, you and me, and the 2.5 million Clark County residents pay for this guy to sit on the bench. We do, but he doesn't show up to work. And he wants to be a justice. He wants to be a Nevada Supreme Court justice. You know, his minor child, a few years ago, when he was running for re-election, burglarized a home with his friends. Did a home invasion. Stole some marijuana, stole a pistol, stole some stuff. You know, while all the other parents were getting their kids locked up for doing the exact same thing, who accompanied Judge Matthew Harder's son, what does Judge Matthew Harder do? He sends his child to Utah so he could escape prosecution, escape being arrested. Sends the child to Utah to live with his mother, who he deemed in divorce papers that the child's mother, his ex-wife, is a drug user, and he didn't want his child around that drug user. But now it's okay because now he's sending the kid to go live with the drug user just to escape prosecution here in Clark County. Although I believe all that has been settled, but it still shows the thinking and the mindset of this judge, that they are above the law. They could do no wrong. You know? So this same judge, Matthew Harder, on video, I think he forgot he was being video recorded, on video, told a litigant that she cannot see her child until she pays half of the court-appointed therapist. When since a judge became a debt collector? Tell me, why is he so hung up about mom paying half to a third-party entity? Is he getting a kickback? These are questions that just pop up in my head. And why is the judge using the child as a sword to get mom to pay her bill? Why is that? I don't understand this. But yet this judge did it. This is disgusting. And this is the guy that wants to be a Nevada Supreme Court justice? Really? You know, some people go, you know, these judges, they do 90% right and 10% wrong, so you can't fault them for the 10% that they do wrong. But those 10%, those are families. Those are children. Those are mothers and fathers. The judge needs to get it right all the time. It's like when we were going after the police, they said all police are not bad, and that's true. And then when we go after certain police officers, they say, well, you know, this was a great cop, but he had a bad day. Yeah, he killed somebody. So that makes it okay? Because you're 90% good on the job? We could forget about the other 10% when you're taking somebody's life or you're destroying a family? We could look the other way? No. You decide to be a judge. You need to do it right all the time. Go seek advices from senior judges. Go ask for an opinion from the Supreme Court. But you need to get it right all the time, because what you're doing is destroying families. And it becomes a domino effect. You take a parent from a child, a loving parent, not abusive parent, I might add, a loving parent from a child. What do you think is going to happen to that kid as he lives or she lives? Probably fall into drugs, alcohol, probably fall into crime because the other parent is not around to be that role model for them, because you destroyed them. You destroyed them. I have a young adult that was a kid when she was going through family court, and she said that her life is destroyed because of what that judge did. Now she's an adult, and these scars are still with her because of your rulings, because of your judgment, because of your bias, because of your insensitivity. And then we have Sandra Pomerance. Now, Sandra Pomerance got an ego a mile long. Okay? Let's start off with that. She loves to hear herself talk, enjoys the hell out of listening to herself. She'll tell you the story before you even know what your case is. Now, Sandra Pomerance, to me, puts her mouth where she doesn't need to put it. And you know what? We should not protect these judges because we favor one political party over another. We should not protect these judges because she's retiring. No. Sandra Pomerance used racial terminology in her courtroom, told an African American mom that she needs to comb her child's nappy hair. Think about it. You imagine if you or that person sitting there and this judge just humiliated you. Forget about the racist remark about nappy head. I mean, I don't even use that terminology with anybody. But to sit on a bench and degrade a mom's child like that, whether it be black, white, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, but just degrade them. That's insensitive. That's disgusting. But we let it happen. But what the kicker is, this is the same judge that gives the children to the mother who had one of her children die in her custody. Mom also suffers from mental illness, but she still gives the children to mother. This is in another case. What are these judges thinking? Do they read the briefs? Do they read the motions? Do they read anything? Or Is she getting short-timers attitude? But you know what? If she's getting short-timers attitude because she's retiring in 2019, that don't mean you destroy families on your way out. Who does that? What civil-minded person would do something like that? What judge would give any parent a child after one of the kids got killed in her care? Especially if that parent is suffering from mental illness. And that parent is abusing the other children. But yet you still give that parent the child? You know, I'm not into this black, white, brown, red thing. But it's disgusting. You know, and two of these, one was an African-American mom that she said nappy-headed child to. And the other one is an African-American dad who lost his kid to the mother who's Caucasian. The mother who neglectfully had one of her kids die in her care. The mother who's suffering from mental illness. The mother who has CPS violation, domestic battery violation a mile long. But that mother gets the child over the father, who has no criminal record, not even a misdemeanor. This is what's going on, folks. Sad, 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 sad. We got Bryce Duckworth, who I thought was a decent judge. Helped him on the bench. Even personally said that, recommended him to be presiding judge. But somewhere along the line, he lost his way. This is the judge that have temper tantrums and walks out the courtroom, walks off the bench. Temper tantrums like a little 3-year-old. Okay, why are you guys be quiet? And walks off the bench. Who does that? This is the guy that violated Nevada Code of Judicial Conduct. Several violations of Nevada Code of Judicial Conduct. But nothing happens. They let it go. Nevada Judicial Commission let it go. I don't know if they have enough budget to go after these corrupt judges, or they're in cahoots with some of them. Who knows? And I also believe Bryce Duckworth brings his religion to that bench time and time and time again. You shouldn't bring your religion to the bench, Judge. You should be there to enforce the law. And then we have one of my old-time favorite, Vincent Ochoa. Now, this judge was removed from several custody cases. He's at the RJC too, not the family court, but he's a family court judge, and they also gave him guardianship. I think they're trying to keep him away from custody cases. Now, he, in the last election, 2014, he admitted on a radio show, to violating Nevada custody laws. How did he violate it, you might ask? He says dads cannot have overnight visits if mom is breastfeeding. Now, this is the 21st century, folks. We have breast pump, we have refrigerator, we have bottles. Mom can get good meals ready for the little youngster before dad comes and pick the child up. Don't you agree? But yet this judge do not allow overnight visits if mom is breastfeeding. Now, it doesn't say that in Nevada custody laws, but he doesn't follow Nevada custody laws. He just used this thing called discretion. And we allow him to get away with it because we do nothing. We elect the same people time and time and time and time and time and time again, because of name recognition. That makes us stupid voters. You know? You got to question yourself when somebody has that much money to put stuff all over the tubes and all over the newspapers and all over social media. You got to ask yourself, who is giving this guy money? And then you got Lisa Brown. Now, Lisa Brown kicked us out of the courtroom. We were court observing and she kicked us out too. Because somebody said, oh, I don't want court observers in here. Because I don't want them to know my case. But guess what? Your case is not sealed, stupid. We could always get the video. So instead of 3 or 4 court observers sitting in there, you make it a closed hearing. They go get the video. Now it's all over YouTube. So thousands of people are watching it now. That makes a whole lot of sense. Why are you closing cases, closing access to the public into these courtrooms for? Now, Lisa Brown used to be Lisa Kent, K-E-N-T, one and the same person. Now, when she was Lisa Kent, she was removed from the bench because the voters said no more. No more. And she was replaced with Gail Nathan, former Judge Gail Nathan. Now she ran back for that same seat as Lisa Brown. And we voted for her. Why? Because a lot of voters are not educated on judges. We need to be educated on judges because these judges affect our lives on a daily basis. Daily. You know, they said 65% of Americans are going through or will go through a family court setting. Whether it be probate, whether it be guardianship, foster care, child custody, division of property, alimony, child support. These are all family court stuff. Or juvenile delinquent, or domestic violence, family related. These are all family court things. You know, 65% of Americans go through family court. You would think that more people would be outraged about what's going on, but these people are scared. They're scared of the repercussion, especially attorneys that are in family court on a daily basis. They're scared to talk about a judge or to complain or file anything on a judge because they don't want to lose the next case, which is sad. And these judges scared to complain about an attorney, especially attorney that has money, because they want that campaign donation. So it's all about the money. But folks, let me tell you what we could do about it. You know, I would like to see, and I'm sure we all would agree, if you're not corrupt, that there's a lot of laws that needs to be amended. There's a lot of laws that need to be changed. And you know, we might say, whoa, sugars, man, these judges don't follow laws anyway. And you're absolutely right. They don't. So why make them? I know they should have a free-for-all, which they already do. But here's the thing. We have to make these laws to hold these judges accountable. For example, did you know that a family court judge, which is a civil judge, cannot order a litigant to take a drug or alcohol test? Only a criminal judge could do that. And if these litigants was to appeal, the Supreme Court would overturn it. But these judges hold your children over you. They really do. Well, if you don't want to take a drug test, you must be 30. Therefore, you're not going to see your kids. Oh my God, isn't that blackmail? Isn't that extortion? But they have no jurisdiction, civil judges, to order a litigant to take a drug or alcohol test. Matter of fact, these judges only go by hearsay evidence. You don't have to provide any evidence. They don't follow the rule of evidence in family court. Are you kidding me? What is that? What is the rule of evidence? I don't think any of these judges know what rule of evidence is in family court. So therefore, anybody could be a family court judge. You don't have to be a practicing attorney for 10 years. You could be a doggone mechanic, got some sense in your head, and become a judge then, if you're going to follow just discretion. Sad. Sad but true. These judges do not follow rule of evidence. I have a litigant that was in Judge Bryce Duckworth's courtroom. Mom says dad is an alcoholic. Dad doesn't have any DUIs. Dad has never been to Alcoholic Anonymous. Dad has nothing, no arrests, no misdemeanors, no citations related to alcohol. But mom says dad is a drunk. Judge believed mom that dad is a drunk. So what the judge do? Order dad